All right, so I'm going to start off with a thumbnail of the basic idea of what I want to do. I'm going to set this up as a vertical pan, and I'm going to place my horizon line low in the environment down here within the initial field of vision. So my field of vision is cut off right about there. So I've got two fields that I'm going to pan up, and I'm going to place my vanishing point off to the side, the field of vision over here, and I'm going to have a corner of the room right about there. And I'm just going to extend this line down below the horizon line. So there's my floorboard here. So in essence, this is a one-point perspective off to the side there, but it's actually a two-point cheated. So my wall will come off like this. And then if I place my ceiling corner up here, that'll extend the vanishing point up through there. And this one, I will cheat to that point of view there. So I always start off with my room whenever I'm doing an environment, whether the layout is, doesn't matter what the layout is, I will always start off with the basic parameters of the room. So if I'm looking into a corner, I'll always, look directly into the corner first and decide where that corner is in relationship to the environment that I'm drawing. And then once I've got my horizon line placed in, if I wanted my horizon line, like I'm assuming that this is like a normal room. So therefore from this point to this point here, that's 8 feet. And so where I place my horizon line in relationship to that 8 feet will determine the height that I am within the room. So if I place my horizon line down low here, that means that if that's 8 feet, there's 4 feet there, that's 2 feet, that's 1 foot. So my horizon line is just under 6 inches. Right? So that creates the low horizon line. So by placing my vanishing point off to the side here, it creates this plane that's going over here, which is very sharp. So don't forget that I've got two fields. I'm looking at this field here, and then it's going to pan up to this point of view. So it's as if I'm looking up within the room. So having the horizon line low in the field initially will also bring us down to the floor, because we have to remember, what is it that we're looking at within the environment? Are we primarily looking at the floor, or are we primarily looking up towards the ceiling? So if you have a low horizon line, you're not going to see a lot of floor, because you're basically unconscious on the floor. So the majority of your field is going to be filled up with wall or ceiling. So in this case here, half of my field is right there. 1/4 of the field is the floor down here, and 3/4 of the field is the wall up above. So that creates the illusion that I'm tilting my head looking up. So that's my basic floor plan. Now if I want to, what I could also do is I can go in here and just draw very lightly a little grid that goes off to that vanishing point there, just to give me a sense of the plane that's down there. So then this line here would cut across this way. And as I'm drawing my grid, I'm just thinking in this the sense of depth here, how would these little squares look in perspective? So you want to make sure that each one looks like basically a square as it goes back to create the grid. So now that gives me my floor plane coming up and towards us. So what I want to do is I want to place my tree right about here on the floor, and this will be my primary stem going up to the ceiling. So if the ceiling is 8 feet, this is extended out from the wall here. So if I travel up the wall and across the ceiling, that's the 8-foot point. So I'm dropping down maybe 1 or 2 feet. There's 4 feet, there's 2 feet off. So if I extend through there, that gives me a 6-foot tree right at that point. So I can start to scale things in relationship to the size of the wall. So now there's the placement of my tree. I figure out what the base of the tree is going to be. Now if I want my tree to be above, the bottom branches of the tree to be above the 6-inch mark, so it looks like I'm looking up and underneath, then I'm going to create an ellipse that's going to travel in this direction here. This is the underside of the tree here. So I simply balance this off. There's the center. The distance from here to here will be the one side. This will be the distance on the opposite side, and I create a triangle that now creates my tree sitting in space there. And now I want to finish off the composition by having, say, maybe a fireplace on the side over here. So I've got my 8 feet from here to here. This is my 4-foot line across there. So if I extend this line through the corner at 4 feet, that'll give me my 4-foot height for the fireplace, similar to what you were doing, right? So if that's the 4-foot height, then if I trace the line on the wall, so I'm always working from surface and building out. So if this is the surface of the wall here, there's where my fireplace is going to sit. I can then extrude that out from there and say there's the depth of the fireplace against the wall. And then this would extend across the floor across this way. And then this line would extend across the top of the mantelpiece. Okay, then I can go in and I can start to cut out the hole. What distance do I want from here to the inside? The brickwork that's on the side to show the opening for the fireplace itself. Maybe slightly above the floor there and cutting across like this. And then this goes back and in to where the actual fireplace itself is inside there. And I could expand out my field size if I wanted to take in more of that. So here's where my mantelpiece is going to be. Usually they have like a beveled edge on them. That'll stick out like that. And so now I've got my basic blocking for my area. Now, when I gave out the assignment, I also mentioned not only that I wanted the low horizon line, but I also was saying that I wanted midground, foreground, and background, or foreground, midground, background, sorry. So I want something right in front of my face. So what I did was I actually took a photograph. Let me just see if I can find it here. So here's my photo reference of the tree, the background with my corner here, the perspective coming across here. So my horizon line is approximately right there within this environment. So you can see the ellipse is curving in this direction on this one and curving over this way on this one. So although my composition is slightly odd, I set them up within the environment just to get the foreground, midground, background elements. The cycle that's over here in this scooter, I would probably take that out and remove it, and I would use my midground element being the fireplace that's off to the side here and just eliminate that. But I would still take this, but I would shift it within the field of vision so it's more on the side there, so it doesn't become quite so dominant. So now within this setup here, what I would probably want to do is shift my field of vision over this way more, and then introduce this over on the side here. So that's the bottom ellipse there. And then the top ellipse would sit over here. I would see through the ellipse onto this side here. And then the ballerina would be centered right through here. So that would be the positioning of the ballerina. The skirt. And her head off to the side with her arm going up like this. And the other arm going up this way. So now that sets up the strong foreground element, midground over here, and the background element of the tree itself. Now I could still pull this in a little bit. I could also add other elements in here. I could probably put in some midground elements such as presents on the side here, but then I have to be mindful of where my horizon line is and what the scale of the presents are based on that. Place my box over here and be careful that it doesn't encroach on the placement of the fireplace here. I might want to shift this back just slightly so it settles back into the background a little bit more. It doesn't interfere with the present. Some other presents in the background here gain scale to make sure they look like they're actually under the tree in relationship to the horizon line. And again, I can shift around my vanishing point so I've got a vanishing point. It's going out this way, so that's parallel to the picture plane. And this one here, I'm setting it off to a slightly different vanishing point over here to create a one-point perspective. So that's my basic setup there. And then I can start to go in here and start to block out some very elementary ellipses just to describe the circumference of the tree. Give a stronger sense of the perspective of it. So then my fielding now becomes this, and I can track up. I can even shift my fielding up slightly higher here as well. So There's lots of little modifications that I can still do, but at least I've got my basic rough layout from that. So now I can go in and start to tighten the whole thing up and clean it up.
Say 8 inches was a good rule for off page?
Yeah, 3 to 4 inches roughly.
3 to 4.